Hello and welcome to Living Well in France. In today's video, I'm going to cover all of the little details of integrating into the French culture that can cause trouble as an English person or an American. So watch this video till the end to make sure that you avoid the faux pas, which means false steps, and integrate smoothly into the culture here and make lots of new friends. I moved to France in my 20s and I had no idea that there were some really big cultural differences between the UK and France. And I think any Americans watching this video will find this very useful as well.
Making new friends.
If it's your first encounter with a French person and you want to get to know them, just take it a little bit more slowly than you would with one of your compatriots. The French tend to find it a bit invasive if you ask too many questions, and certainly don't hug somebody that you don't know really well in France. That's not something that they feel comfortable with. However, the bise, the French way to greet somebody you don't know, is very common and used in lots of different circumstances. So if you're invited to perhaps a dinner party or a barbecue, then it's perfectly normal to go up and to kiss them. So when you do la bise, you don't actually want to kiss them on the cheek. You want to put your face next to theirs and kiss the air next to their face. So you go up, you say, Bonjour, Jane, enchantée, like that. And the same when you leave. You say, au revoir, à bientôt, and it's done. It's a very simple but very common social nicety that if you want to integrate, it's a very useful thing to know how to do properly.
Don't talk about this.
So once you've made some friends with the French and you're having a conversation, there's some topics that are best avoided. And that is mainly how much money you're making and how your business is going. The French don't want to talk about business with their friends. They'll happily talk about sex, politics, religion, no problem at all, and have all kinds of deep, passionate debates on these subjects. And you can disagree, no problem, because it's just considered a debate. Once the conversation is over, you go back to being perfectly good friends. However, if you start to talk about your business or how well you are doing, how much money you are making, you will cause your French friends to become quite uncomfortable. It's considered quite distasteful to be what they consider as boastful about your success. So just be aware that doing this is not the best way to make friends or impress anyone in France. The same goes for how you dress.
Not too much bling.
The French are very well known for their luxury items and their beautiful products. However, one luxury item is considered perfectly enough. Any more than that is considered excessive and vulgaire, they will say. So just keep it understated. Less is definitely more when it comes to how you dress. And also for jewellery. Small, delicate pieces, nothing too big, no giant diamonds. Engagement rings are a lot smaller in France, if they even exist at all. So that's something to be aware of if you have a French partner and you're hoping to get married. Don't expect a giant rock. No Frenchman is going to spend 3 months' salary on your engagement ring, unfortunately.
Friends of the opposite sex.
One thing you may not have heard that I wish I had known a little bit earlier on in my life here in France is that when it comes to having male friends as a female or female friends as a male, the dynamic is a little bit different to the Anglo-Saxon culture. For example, if I am particularly warm and friendly with my female friend's husband, that could well make her uncomfortable. So be super friendly with your French girlfriends, but leave their husbands at a little bit more of a distance, even if you're completely innocent and you just want to be friends with everybody. You need to sort of adjust your dynamic when you're talking to men who are taken.
Being invited for dinner.
Again, if you are invited to somebody's home, don't be early. And try to be even a little bit late. The ideal is about 15 minutes. Give your hosts time to have a glass of wine, wonder where you are, rather than arriving when she's just getting out of the shower and he's still having a shave. This avoids any stress and makes sure that they will be happy to see you when you arrive. When you do turn up, make sure you bring some kind of gift with you. If you ask in advance, the host or hostess will most likely say there's no need to bring anything, in which case you should come with a bunch of flowers or a bottle of nice wine, or both. I wouldn't bring anything edible because you're being invited to eat and it's not normally considered correct to bring some food, unless of course they ask you to.
Leave something to be desired.
If you're young, free and single and you're going out at night, girls, make sure you dress a little bit more modestly than perhaps you would at home. I've certainly noticed that the French girls here cover up a lot more than my English girlfriends. So adjust the way you dress to fit in. You don't want to be attracting too much attention from men or too many raised eyebrows and stares from your female friends. So leave a little to be desired and don't show too much.
Noise.
The French, perhaps more so than Anglo-Saxon cultures, are very aware of not disturbing people when in public and not drawing attention to themselves in places where other people might hear their conversation. Be very aware to keep your voice down. If I'm in a cafe, I can never hear the conversation at the table next to me. So just be aware that in France, in order not to cause any raised eyebrows or stares, it's a good idea to keep your conversation nice and intimate with the person that you're talking to. That also applies to laughing in public. I have quite a loud laugh and it just comes out. And I have quite often been shushed by my husband or friends when we're in a restaurant, for example, and if they make me laugh, because yes, it is a bit loud. And it's true that you won't hear French people doing that in public. So if you're like me and you have a loud laugh, be aware that you may want to just tone it down a notch or two.
Don't over-apologise.
As a Brit, I will very easily say sorry and apologise quite a lot and excessively, even if I don't particularly feel that I've done something wrong. A French person will probably apologise once if they feel they've made a mistake. Otherwise, they certainly won't say sorry. And they may think you're a bit peculiar if you overly apologise. So if you've made a mistake, say, I'm sorry, je suis désolé, one time, and leave it at that. Move on. It's fine. This, however, does not mean the French are not polite.
Say bonjour.
There is a very strong social custom of saying bonjour whenever you go into somebody's shop or business, much more so perhaps than in the UK or the US. So when you go into a smaller shop or any kind of business, you must say bonjour to the person who owns it or who is running it on that day. And the same with when you leave, you say au revoir. It's considered impolite not to say bonjour when you enter into somebody's business. However, this doesn't apply to a giant supermarket or if there's lots of people. You don't have to say bonjour to everybody working there. It's obviously in a more intimate setting.
Leaving tips.
Something you may not be aware of is that leaving a tip is not considered necessary in France. Service is included in the bill. But if you have had a particularly good experience in the restaurant and you want to show a token of your thanks, then a couple of euros is plenty. Anything more than that would be seen as excessive. So just bear that in mind.
Don't criticise the French.
If you're living and working in France, it's quite likely that you'll be working with other Anglophones in an office environment, for example. And I had the experience where I sometimes heard my Anglophone colleagues speaking about the French and criticising them quite openly and generally. And I would avoid doing that because maybe the French aren't listening in or perhaps don't understand what's being said, but it's quite possible that other English speakers around you may have an absolutely lovely French husband, French children, French family, and they might take offence at hearing nasty things said about the French. So just be very aware that it's very much an integrated culture here and we're not separate. So be careful how you speak about the French to other English speakers. I really hope you found this video helpful. Do comment down below if there's anything that you have found as to be a big difference between the French and your culture. And also, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me about any other subjects around integrating into France, I'll be happy to answer you in the comments. If you would like to see more videos like this to help you integrate into the French culture, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any new videos. Until next time, à bientôt!